Live from America's News headquarters, I'm Kelly Wright. Good evening. Here's what's happening. A massive manhunt is underway in Orlando, Florida, for the suspect in the shooting death of a female police officer. Hundreds of officers from multiple police agencies are looking for 41-year-old Markeith Lloyd. He's being urged to turn himself in. Lloyd is suspected of the shooting death of Master Sergeant Deborah Clayton outside of Walmart. He is also wanted for questioning in the shooting death of his pregnant ex-girlfriend last month. The United States announcing economic sanctions against 5 more Russians. The new sanctions follow last week's release of an unclassified intelligence assessment connecting Russian President Vladimir Putin to the hacking of Democratic accounts. However, U.S. officials say the latest sanctions are unrelated to the hacking and is instead punishment for human rights violations. And that's a look at news. I'm Kelly Wright. Now back to Hannity.
On health care, we will repeal and replace Obamacare. We're going to have health care that's much less expensive and will be much better, much stronger.
President-elect Donald Trump has promised to repeal and replace Obamacare. Now, yesterday, former Senator Rick Santorum had this to say about where Congress stands on a replacement plan for this disastrous health care law. Watch this.
The most important thing he needs to focus on is delivering on the agenda that he set, and that is, number one, repealing Obamacare. And I know there's a big fight about repeal and replace, but we have to repeal Obamacare.
So you don't think it needs to be replaced immediately?
I think it should be, the process should be started to replace. And there's a lot of discussion going on right now in the House and Senate as to how to do that. I'm frankly shocked that they don't have a plan, that they haven't really prepared for this. I know it's not going to be an easy thing to do, but they should have put a little bit more work into it than now here in the interim trying to figure out a plan forward. But no one, to at least my knowledge to date, has a real clear plan on how to do that, and that's a big problem.
Here now with reaction is the counselor to President-elect Donald Trump, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, I know there are 9 competitive plans. I know Tom Price, I've interviewed him specifically about his plan. I've interviewed the president-elect about what his plan is. Why is there not a consensus yet? And does the president-elect believe that if we repeal it, we need the replacement right away?
We need to repeal and replace it. There is a consensus on some of the operating principles, which is very important to that ultimate plan, Sean. First, that people who rely on care now will not be stripped of their coverage. The beneficiaries don't have to worry and listen to the hard left that's trying to scare them into believing that they will lose their coverage. That is not true. Secondly, we need to repeal that Obamacare tax right away. The penalty is really part of the burden that has bothered so many Americans from the beginning. It's why Republicans won in 2010, 2014, 2016 in large part, which is people don't like what's happened with Obamacare. That penalty is draconian. It comes from the government. Premiums have increased in some places by 50 to 100%. Choices are fewer. Quality is less. Prices are higher, and access has been diminished. The other operating principles are that this will be patient-centric, not government-centric health care, that you'll be able to purchase health insurance across state lines, that you will have a health savings account with your name on it, Sean, so that you can have better control of your spending. People don't take the rental car to a car wash before they turn it in, so some people aren't mindful of healthcare spending if they don't control the purse strings. So there are elements that are free market that have been bandied about for a while, and that will be part of the replacement plan.
He was very clear to me in the interviews that I had with him in the town halls about portability, pre-existing conditions, competition, job to job, healthcare savings accounts. So that is in line with Tom Price. So it's a matter of specifically putting the plan together. Did he tell Rand Paul, in fact, that we shouldn't repeal it until we have the full replacement so it's ready to go?
I don't know what he told Senator Paul specifically, but I just know, in speaking with the president-elect daily about this issue, how he feels about it. It should be no secret to everyone that when he says he'll repeal it and replace it, he means it. He ran on it. He will do it. And I would mention to everyone, Sean, that in 2010, the Republicans won in large part because of their commitment to repeal and replace Obamacare, and 2/3 of the Republican Congress was elected in 2010 or more recently. And why is that important? Because they've all made that promise to repeal and replace Obamacare, and it's important that they happen in quick succession. Here's the other thing. when, you know, a lot of these members of Congress have voted to repeal it, but they've never had an opportunity to replace it because they had the author of Obamacare, President Obama, vetoing those measures. But they need to make good on these promises. You know, Obamacare is the best example that many Americans have of how invasive, intrusive, expensive, and expansive the federal government is in your life. I think it would be a mistake to get rid of the penalties and not get rid of the regulations. Some Republicans are openly talking about that. You really need to gut the most corrosive aspects of Obamacare. And again, pre-existing conditions, very popular. Keeping people on coverage who have it, popular.
But it's not going to look anything like Obamacare. Just because I read the way people portray this is interesting, because that's not what I heard in the interviews I had with him. Well, let me give you another example. So it came up last week, and I had to go to the Trump Town Hall archives of the Hannity show to get the answer.
Right.
Because I said to him, well, you know, he's going to build the wall. Mexico will pay for the wall. And a number of times, I asked him, well, they're not going to write you a check. And he goes, yeah, I know that. This is how we're going to do it. Let me roll the tape.
Right.
One other thing we have to say, and Mexico will pay for the wall. They're going to pay for the wall.
Let me ask you that. They're not going to write you a check. How do you get them to pay for the wall?
Well, there are many ways. Look, on trade, they're absolutely killing us. They're killing us. They're killing us at the border. They're killing us on trade. We have a trade deficit with Mexico of close to $60 billion a year. So right there, you can build the wall, because the wall's a fraction of that. So, you know, right there.
And he met with the president of Mexico, who's willing to redo NAFTA. So why are some people saying, oh, now he's asking for appropriations? That's what he said.
That's what he said. It's always what he promised. You know who heard him loudly and clearly? The American people. And they responded to that. Look, the president-elect made clear last week, Sean, that maybe Congress will pay for it first to speed up the process. But the full intent and plan is to then have Mexico reimburse us for it. This is the way the appropriations process goes. Anybody who says anything differently is lying and is doing so for political reasons. I know firsthand that building the wall is part of some of his initial urgent propositions in his first couple weeks and months on the job. He ran on it, and people who bet against Donald Trump will continue to be sorely disappointed. I can't believe 2 months after his historic win, folks are still trying to parse his words and trying to play gotcha with him. I'm going to bet on him coming out ahead on that one.
All right, Kellyanne, good luck in your job. It's always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean.
And up next, Reverend Al Sharpton. Well, he reportedly is calling for a, quote, season of civil disobedience in reaction to Senator Jeff Sessions' nomination. In other words, another smear tactic by the left. We'll explain then later. The liberal Hollywood elite spewed their hatred about President-elect Trump last night. Up next, Michelle Malkin has reaction, and ISIS now reportedly releasing a video showing kids maybe assassinating innocent people. Dr. Gorka will react to this disturbing image.